What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Clover Trading Channel. This is Jack, and today I have a pretty interesting topic that I wanted to share with you. It's ChatGPT and AI. I'm sure many of you guys know about it. If you don't know, AI is artificial intelligence. What that is basically just blocks of code and stuff, and it's going to have these examples thrown at it or run through the lines of code. And then it's pretty much going to learn from itself over time as these examples are presented to it. And it's going to become more and more efficient over time.
Pretty cool, right?
Ooh, you suck.
And ChatGPT, it's AI, and it takes it a little bit further. It's going to be a natural language processing one.
What the f does that even mean?
Where we type into the computer an original sentence or an idea or a proposal to it, and it's going to return a response to us in a relatively human-like fashion. It's a little concerning, actually. I've seen it write stories, poems, make jokes. It's endless. The possibilities are truly endless. And the cool thing about this is, well, the sad thing about this is if I had this when I was in high school, I would have been like valedictorian. It's incredible. Well, I mean, okay, I probably would have been like top 5% in my class.
Why are we still here?
I would have had better grades.
Just to suffer?
So, if you're new to this channel, welcome to the Clover Trading Channel. Make sure to subscribe, drop a like on this video, and if you're returning, welcome back. Make sure to subscribe. We come out with a new video every Monday, and they're all awesome. Highly recommend watching every single one of them.
That sounds pretty biased.
So without further ado, let's get into a little story on this and why technology is so important. Back in the Stone Age, we had cavemen. You know, if you wanted to drive a stake into a ground, they're probably using their hand. Then they evolved into using rocks. And it was probably a little bit of a learning curve finding the right rock to bang a stake with so it doesn't break and then you don't hit your hand. Then after that, maybe a rock that they were using to drive a stake into the ground, it turned into a rock with a stick on it, aka a hammer.
Oh, I get it.
And this is cool because that's the progression of technology that we see, where now they're not just hitting it with their hand, they're actually adding extra force by putting a lever onto the rock and then driving it into the ground. And with that, this is a lot more complex, but we need to embrace these changes that come into the world, because if we don't, we're going to be left behind. We're just going to be a caveman still using his hand to drive a stake into the ground or whatever the heck he's doing. So let's get into ChatGPT and talk about why it's so cool, and we can talk about what we're going to use ChatGPT for and our own data that we've derived from the stock market. And me personally, I'm always pulling the data by hand. I know there's softwares out there that you can use where you'll pretty much put in this criteria, and then it will just pull all the data that you want from the stock market with certain thresholds or types of stocks that you like to trade. Me, I like it the old-fashioned way, which is ironic because I'm talking about embracing technology, but this way I can make sure that I get everything that I want and I don't have any random things that I wouldn't be looking at anyways.
What do you mean by that?
Let's continue listening.
In this example, we have an open price, 75 cents, 24 cents, 16 cents. We're going to pretend these are all tickers, so it's going to be like A, B, C, whatever. And these aren't like real statistics. I just put in a random number generator. So that's why when I type something, press enter, they're going to change because it's a random number generator and it refreshes every time. And then I made another random number generated column D, where it's going to calculate the percentage push over the open price because I want to simulate that. And then we have the high day price, which is just code. It's going to be the column B times the product of, or the sum of 1 plus the percentage push. And that's going to give us the high day price. So as we can see, 36 cents, 23% push, goes up to 44 cents, and so forth. Now, what do we do with all this raw data?
I don't know, you tell me.
Because we can see that there's often a push a lot of the time over the open price. But how do we measure where this goes, or how can we develop some form of accuracy on where to trade the stock, or where to buy at the open and where to sell, or where to short after the opening push, or any sort of situation that we get ourselves into? This is when we use ChatGPT. So here, for example, write me a code in Excel VBA, which that's their Visual Basic Editor, and calculate the statistics on a range of a percentage of numbers. And then I asked it for the mean, standard deviation, minimum, maximum, mode, and median. Now, you don't have to ask for these specifically. You can even ask ChatGPT, like, what are the most important things to track with statistics or something like that. Mean and standard deviation are always very good. Maximum, minimum, median, you know, they're not as great in my opinion.
Trash.
Anyways, we ask it a prompt, and then it returns this huge block of code for us that we can just copy and paste. And I know you guys know how to copy and paste, especially the ones that are in school in this day and age. I know it. Don't pretend you don't do it. Anyways, copy the code. Ask ChatGPT, gives us code. Now we throw it into Excel. If you don't even know how to do this, how to get the Visual Basic Editor or the Developer tab in Excel, that's okay. ChatGPT will solve the problem for you. That is technology, and that is the beauty of it, ladies and gentlemen. So we install it. You actually go to File, Options, Add-ins, but ask ChatGPT. It will give you a step-by-step framework, and it's very easy to follow. So go to Developer, go to Visual Basic or the Macros tab. We're going to use the Macro tab because he writes it in the sub way instead of formula way. And we're going to type in the macro name, calculate percentage stats. And when we type that in, we're going to press create. I already have it here, so I'm going to edit it. What that's going to do is pull up this window. And now we just copy and paste. Just like that. Just like how some people, I'm not going to name names, how they do in school. So they put it into Excel. Copy and paste, save the window, minimize. Go here, now let's run this macro. Here's set a range. We have 102 examples actually. Usually when you're recording statistics, you don't want any less than 100 samples to pull data from, because that's going to give you a very wide range of just data. So you don't have representative bias or anything like that, or a representative issue, and it's a less likelihood to skew your results. And then just like that, it outputs everything for us. We have a mean or an average of 33.19% push. So on average, we can expect it to go about that far with one standard deviation of 16.04%. And if you don't know what standard deviation is, what can you do? Google it.
No, wait.
Good answer. Then we have minimum of 10%, maximum of 59.39%. So I'm gonna take a picture of that. Copy and paste it. Go up here, paste it in. And the reason that these are similar is because it's normally distributed random number generator, so it's more or less always going to have the same one. The more examples we have, the more closely it's going to just mimic itself. So another thing that I wanted to test out with ChatGPT is I wanted to see how far I could push it, ask it some more tougher questions and just see what kind of situations arise. You know, I call it like an Iron Man test. Like in the first movie, Tony Stark, he builds the Iron Man suit. What's the first thing he does? He pushes it to the limit to see the fall. He flies all the way into the stratosphere, out into outer space, and he's going so fast and it's so cold up there that his suit freezes, and then he falls. And the only way that he lives is because he thawed just in time to get up, or he actually crashed into the ground, maybe. One of the situations. But being able to push the limits and see how far you can take this technology is what drives success. You know, if you recall in that same movie, the first Iron Man, the final battle scene, he's flying with the antagonist, which was just a bigger metal suit, obviously. And he just takes him all the way into space, knowing that this guy didn't think this through, or he didn't push the limitations of that suit. And that's what ultimately won him that fight in the end. So, back to ChatGPT. Yeah, here we go. This example is great. So, write me an Excel VBA that outputs the cost of a Quanto call. And it actually went step by step, and I didn't like this. So I went back to ChatGPT and I said, put it into one block of code. Now, this is the real genius of this type of AI. I misspelled cod, and anybody that knows programming or has done a little bit of programming, you know that when we write some sort of code, if there's one line that's messed up, the code's just not going to work because the computer only executes what we tell it to. But this AI has evolved to the point where it actually understood this typo, which a cod is a fish instead of a code, which the code and cod are two very different things. It probably thought I was dumb, but then it just put everything into one block of code. And then I said, okay, now let's run a Monte Carlo simulation on this Quanto puts price when it gets halfway to its time until expiration. And then it did just that with, looks like 100,000 different simulations. I mean, this thing is just so powerful. Then I said, how to install the developer tab in Excel. Just for you guys. There's the freebie, I put it in there. So that's all for today's video lesson. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and click that like button. I'm Jack. Have a good one.